Welcome back to season 2 of Flower Power, a baking podcast with two 20-somethings. I'm Lotty, and my co-host here is Hannah.
Each episode, we choose to make a recipe together, despite being over 150 miles away from one another. As of recording, it's officially spooky season. We love October. We are very big October Halloween fans, and we will get into that. So what better ingredient to be the star of this episode than pumpkin? Seen any of our other content or the other content that will be coming out, we are pumpkin mad this batch, so you're going to see a lot more of this in many different ways. Dog treats, to fertilizer, to feeding the birds, to even meals. You're going to be sick of pumpkin by the time we're done with this.
I know for one, I'm not going to be sick of pumpkins because I love squash in every format, so I'm very excited for the food.
So while we're baking, we'll be sharing our favourite things we found recently, a recipe, a book, or something intriguing we've discovered, as well as sharing a little fudge up or two, because we're human, not perfect, and we make fudge up sometimes. This episode, we will be making spiced pumpkin cake. This specific recipe I've not made before, but I did make spiced pumpkin cake last year, and it was so much of a hit that everybody asked me to make more. So I'm hoping it's going to be such a hit this time around that I end up making multiple batches, which is good, because I've still got shit tons of pumpkin to use. I don't know about you.
I mean, I love a good vegetable cake. I mean, chocolate courgette cake, for example, or carrot cake, or even beet fruit cake. Love that. I've never made a pumpkin cake before, so this is a huge character in, and I'm very excited. So with that, we have got our ingredients out, and our ovens are preheated. So let's get making.
Great. Right, so for this one, what we need to do is basically just combine everything. We don't have to whisk the butter and sugar together, which is weird because that's normally the basic step for a cake, but I've read through the recipe and it doesn't say to do that. It just says combine all the wet, combine all the dry, and then combine them together.
I love that. It's a good, easy, jump and go kind of cake. So perfect, low effort, awesome baking. We're going to start with our dry.
I'm going to pour in my butter. Well, I'm going to start with my wet and do the opposite of Charlotte.
I'm going to start with my dry because I'm following the recipe right now on my laptop. And you put your flour, your sugar, your bicarbonate of soda, and your spices into a bowl. The recipe that we're taking inspiration from says to use mixed spice. We're kind of pushing the values of that a little bit, so I've added some extra cinnamon and ginger just to balance it out and make it a little bit more autumnal. You can just use straight mixed spice, or you can make your own spice blend. It is entirely up to you.
It was butter and orange juice, so it could be worse than this. And then I'm going to add in my eggs.
Move on.
Oh, we have an Ollie shortly. He heard food. He hears food. He wants to be involved. So we may see an Ollie in frame. We may not. He's just out of frame at the moment.
For those who are new to our podcast, Ollie is Hannah's adorable greyhound. He is absolutely gorgeous. Loves to sleep and also loves to steal plushies. I see discovered while we were planning something. Yeah, Ollie, he's gorgeous. I love him to this. So I've done all of my dry. So we started before cracking record. Mine started with solidifying again because it's not chatting. But I'm going to just pour my mostly melted butter into this bowl.
I love that we've done this the opposite way round, where I've done the wet first. Because it's really going to show that it doesn't make a blind bit of difference.
Exactly. It would be fascinating if this actually did make a difference.
It's basically just to pour everything in and then put it in the oven kind of cake, which is very much up my street.
Absolutely.
So I am very much on board. I'm just adding in my bicarb salt, which I mixed together just because I only had one small pot. We are not professional bakers. I do not have 100 different bowls that are all the same colour. And I've just spilt all over the sides.
But it's
so
okay.
we make do.
This is baking. You're allowed to make a mess. In fact, we encourage you to make a mess because it's more fun that way.
100%. I realised that my minced pumpkin is not as minced as I was hoping it would be, and there are some chunks in it. So we're having chunky pumpkin cake over here.
But Mexico brings more fun.
And I'm just going to add in my sugar now. I'm literally just adding one thing at a time, mixing it all in, making sure it's fully incorporated, and then moving on to the next ingredient. So it's very much a just throw it in and go for it kind of cake, and that sounds great, to be fair.
That does sound right. Okay, so that's the second time that I've gone off screen to find something and it's actually been within my field of view the whole time. Love that. Object permanence.
While we're doing this bit, I figured we might as well share our fudge ups. So my fudge up of this week is that I managed to go to the shop, thought I'd bought something, like fully consciously thought I'd bought it. I must have picked it up and then put it back on the shelf. That's how sure I am that I got it. Came home, didn't get everything out of my boot until the next day. Realised I didn't have it, by which point we were recording. So I had to substitute an ingredient that I could have sworn I bought, but very clearly did not.
Honestly, the number of times I do that while I'm cooking, like, I can never follow a recipe perfectly because there will always be something that I haven't quite got or that I don't quite...
Or that you don't like. The original recipe just don't like them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so instead, I have just removed them.
Got your bougie brownic style sifter out.
Yeah, I love this thing. I don't know why I waited so long to buy one. IKEA is my favourite place.
Until Hannah showed me that was a tool you could have, I didn't realise that was something that you could just buy and use. Really cool. I tend to just go for free system file because I cannot be bothered to sift stuff. I am somewhat of a lazy data, I will admit.
I mean, so am I, but this is fun and it looks cute, which is why it's also being recorded at the same time from a top down, and will probably be on Instagram by the time people see this.
Amazing.
That's why if you see a weird halo light coming from the cupboard, I don't have a weird cupboard that lights up on the inside, although that would be quite clever. Don't you think like an LED strip on the inside of a cupboard would be a really useful addition?
Oh, absolutely. You could so do that. That would be so easy to make that happen.
But no, I'm essentially trying to light my surface downwards so that I can record the whole thing.
Right, so I've just added my wets into my dries. Hannah's done the opposite of that. We'll have to see if that actually makes a difference to cake itself, because I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued. I very much doubt it would make a difference. But, like, baking is basically chemistry, and that shit has rules for a reason.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. You'll be able to tell which one actually does work because we'll be writing up the recipe and the available in the description below and on our website. And you'll be able to see which one of us maybe was right, or maybe it doesn't make a difference at all. Okay. I think I'm ready to add my pumpkin.
I've already done that.
Oh my god, I got over the head of you for one. I'm going to just add mine a little bit at a time because I do have 0.5 kilogram of pumpkin here. And so...
This smells amazing.
Wow.
So while Charlotte's doing that, I'm going to start moving my mixture over into my baking tin.
While Hannah's moving her mixture, it happened in the wee small hours of this morning. We're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, right? I woke up in a panic at 6:45 exactly this morning going, oh shoot, I need to get the train. I need to go to the office. I've missed my alarm. I was halfway through booking my tickets when I realized, wait, that's tomorrow. It's a Sunday today. He doesn't need to do anything. And then I promptly went back to sleep. Like, I fully skipped a day in my brain. I don't quite know how I managed to do that. But anyway, the good news is I didn't end up booking the tickets, so I wouldn't waste my money. And I didn't end up much further than getting out of bed in a panic. I didn't, get rest or anything, didn't act like that. But like, what place? It's okay.
This makes so much cake mix.
I know. I'm wondering if I need a bigger tin or a second tin.
now you get to watch me grease it, because I've already filled this most of the way to the top, and I'm worried that if I overfill it, then we'll have a volcano cake situation. So I'm going to have to get out another tin. I wasn't planning on using my loaf tin, but now I think I have to.
Right,
I hope this is as good as the other one I made last year, because there's plenty of it to go around.
Yeah. Okay, let's start by filling it up. This is where I drop it and just put the whole bowl. Let's see. Okay.
Well, at least it can be somewhat instructional, and you can watch me grease a tin.
Right.
My favourite method for greasing a tin doesn't involve grease-proof paper, because I can't cut it, and that is my professional opinion. So I always use a little bit of butter on a bit of tin foil. Just go around all the edges, make sure you've coated it completely, and then take a little bit of flour, sprinkle it into your tin, and then literally just work it around. Now, this is not foolproof. I have had cakes get stuck before, but I also don't like greaseproof paper and can't be bothered with it. And it seems like an unnecessary extra expense, so I would much rather do it this way.
Honestly, I tend to go with greaseproof because I'm worried that my microphone will stick, but I don't know, maybe I just got the other one. Yeah, I'm going to do greaseproof paper for now because that's what I have in my bin currently. And I'm just going to get the last bits out of my bowl.
Like I've said, not foolproof. But I do prefer it. But it's because I'm lazy. And I almost never remember to buy greaseproof paper, whereas you have to have flour and butter to make the cake in the first place.
That's very wise.
I really like those.
I think they're really good. Some more of that, because I did have one of those, and then I ended up overheating in the oven and lightning melting, which I didn't think it was supposed to do that. So I got rid of that because different so fast and everything. And I haven't built another one since. I probably should, but anyway.
It would be sustainable.
I'm hoping that this will not explode because there was too much for one, but not enough for it getting out a second time. So we're going to have a very big cake, hopefully. I'm hoping you can see that on the camera.
I've managed to fill 2, but I think I probably did more than 500 grams of pumpkin, to be honest.
That's
I did my standard measure with the heart situation, so there's probably more than there should be.
Oh, there's lots here they are. Well, no. So now, what we've got to do, we're ready, is you pour the batter in. We've done that. So now we just put this into the oven, which should be preheated. It should be 180 and should be about ready.
Perfect.
And that hopefully will take about 30 minutes, although that will depend on how good your oven is.
I will leave Charlotte set the timer because I do mine through my friendly Amazon bot, and I'll set off everybody else's by asking it. So I won't subject you all to that.
Alright, I'm going to do it on my phone because if I do it on my oven timer, the weird thing about my oven is the timer itself heats up too. I think it's a pretty significant design flaw.
Yeah, that does sound like one.
Yeah, that's not great. I didn't choose this oven.
So, I think it's quite a good time for us to move on to our food for thought section. So, in this episode, we are talking about sustainability and how to be more environmentally friendly when celebrating. Now, I love Halloween, but it is quite a wasteful holiday with all the candy wrappers and the decorations that are single use and the plastic buckets that get thrown away and don't get used next year. There's a lot of waste involved, even down to the, you carve a pumpkin and then you leave it outside of your house until it gets moldy and then you bin it. Like, ethically, I don't think that's a very good way of going about it, which kind of pioneered the idea for our batch. This episode was last year. I took a pumpkin, I carved it, I had a lovely time, and then I used as much of it as I could in ways that I had never thought of before, down to roasting the seeds and using the last bits of the pumpkin to fertilize my soil for the next year. So there's plenty of ways to use pumpkin and be more sustainable about it and still getting the joy out of it.
Absolutely. I'm looking at this from a slightly more zoomed out angle this year. I got my pumpkin this year from my vegetable articles river first. They've been going for about 30 years. They deliver veg boxes. This isn't sponsored, by the way, I should probably add. And they are constantly running campaigns about sustainability and about working to make farming and vegetable growing a more sustainable practice in Britain. Like there is an awful lot of food waste that happens with pumpkins, as Hannah said, like every year. You see them piled high in the supermarkets, people go home, they carve them, and then that's it. They don't know what to do with the rest of them. And so they just get dumped into the food waste once they get moldy outside. We've already proved that you can carve a pumpkin and have it eaten. I mean, the grid is literally is running right now. But moving back the scale a little bit more, where do they come from? Do we know whether the farmers who are growing our pumpkins and other vegetables are actually getting a fair deal out of all of this? So currently, Brunswick is running a campaign called Farmers Against Farmwashing, and it's something that's been quite it's been growing momentum for a good couple of years. So I just wanted to maybe raise that issue as on our platform, because I think it's really important to know where it has come from and also to know that where it's coming from is giving the people who are growing it a good deal and giving them an actual livelihood. So it's quite a serious topic, I'm aware, but it has given me quite a bit of pause recently. So farm washing is probably a new term. I'm guessing you haven't really heard before. I hadn't heard of it either. It's this idea that everything you see in a supermarket, you see all the Union Jacks everywhere, you see it was grown by some guy in Somerset or whatever, and you're like, oh nice, a guy grew this in Somerset. Do you really know he actually grew it, or is he just the CEO of a ginormous farm? Do you know whether the pork that is apparently British hand reared is actually from Britain, or is it imported because it came through, say, Northern Ireland, for example? I'm giving us as an example, I'm not saying this is exactly what happened. It could have come from Argentina. This was a huge scandal, years ago, where actually beef that was supposedly from Northern Ireland came from Argentina. That was a huge deal. And that's still going on. The supermarkets have been doubling down recently on making it look like everything is grown in Britain, everything is to the highest welfare standards. It never says what those welfare standards are. And so the idea behind this Farmers Against Farmwashing campaign is to raise awareness of this, because farmers are facing such a huge threat to their livelihoods. And British farming, like a lot of things in British industry right now, is on the brink of collapse. That's a really scary thought.
It is. And to jump in on this, obviously Jeremy Clarkson is not everybody's friend and not everybody likes him, and that's completely valid and fair, and you're entitled to whatever opinion you want. I'm not the biggest car person. I watched Top Gear but I'm not the biggest car person, so I was never particularly interested in him. However, Clarkson's Farm is a fantastic show, and he talks about all of the things that face the average farmer. In his first season, he talked about how he would have made a total of 30p or something. It wasn't a lot. It was a very, very wouldn't even have paid his wages type value. And he said, well, in my first year, I've made a profit, but it's not really a profit. And I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't also filming it. So as much as he loves farming, and a lot of people in the farming community love what they do, I mean, I would love to be a farmer. In my soul, I would love nothing more than to be outside and farm. And I imagine it's incredibly grueling, back-breaking work. And I'm not trying to glamorize it, because is difficult, but it is something that I would definitely enjoy. And that's also the sentiment that Clarkson takes, is that it's the happiest he's ever been, but it's so far from profitable that you have to diversify to stay afloat nowadays. And it's so wrong. Farming has been a huge part of British communities for a very, 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 very long time. I mean, when you think of Britain, an outsider perspective, you think of rolling countryside hills and London, but you think of cows and sheep and farmers and hay bales and all that kind of stuff. But we are pushing things to the limit where it's untenable for a lot of farmers, and a lot of farmers have to stop doing kind of what they love and what they've always done. I mean, farming is quite a family based occupation, in that it's quite often, my dad was a farmer and his dad was a farmer and his dad before him was a farmer. So it's handed down through generations, which is not something that happens quite so much anymore. It's quite a treasured tradition in its own way, and we're putting young farmers at risk and threatening their livelihoods, which is something that they have always done and something that their family has always done. That's all they know how to do. And they're in this rural community where there are other jobs and livelihoods that you can make for yourself in these areas. It puts people in a really dangerous situation. I try to buy as much of my produce as possible from our local farm shop. Obviously, that's not always possible. And there is a cost implication to that, because if you're buying it from the farm shop, it has been priced fairly. If you're buying it from Tesco, it's probably not been priced fairly or quite so fairly. It's priced based on a volume output, and there will be deals and corporate things behind that enable the price to be different. But it also makes the quality different.
That's,
Anything I buy from the farm shop is miles above.
that's exactly right. Like, it's the whole reason why I buy my veg from my food is an organic farmer, and he actually is a cooperative rather than just being, you don't know where it comes from. Like, I get newsletters with my the boxes, and quite often it'll be the farmers themselves writing about what's happening in the fields, like whether they had a good crop, whether the crop has been washed away, what they're planning to do with it. Like, for example, if they're foraging wild garlic in that time of year, which is not happening right now, but it does happen, or if they're changing the way they're doing something. And it's really lovely having that transparency of knowing exactly where the food on my plate is coming from. I've got a couple of stats from the Farmers Against Farmwashing website, and they're very stark, to be quite honest. So, I mean, Hannah's been talking about the fact that you cannot, sometimes it is just financially impossible for farms to be running. Last year, 48% of farmers thought they might have to give up their farm in 18 months. This year, 61% of farmers would likely to give up their farm in the next 18 months. 62% afraid that their farms are at financial risk. 65% want clearer legislation, because there's just no legislation. Supermarkets can just use the word farm whenever they feel like it, and there's no actual legislation for that. 67% would support a ban on fake farm, and that they feel under pressure from supermarkets and buyers to be as low cost as possible. And that makes such an impact on the quality of goods they can produce and the quality of their own lives. And I'm coming at this from a buyer's perspective. I've never plowed a field in my life. This is my livelihood. But my family has been buying organic food as much as we can since I was little. I remember in year 5, we had a project where we had to look at a piece of food and figure out where it came from. And most of the kids in my class hadn't realized that the potatoes were grown underground, for example. But there was a huge disconnect. And I remember making a PowerPoint in year 5 about the life of the humble potato, about literally farm to supermarket to plate. And that PowerPoint the homework that I did with my parents stopped my parents from buying vegetables at the supermarket. Like, that was the turning point. They were already looking at trying to go more organic. They didn't know how to do it. And I did a piece of homework, aged whatever age year 5 is, and right into it. And the food quality is so much better. And also, we know that the farmers that we get our vegetables from are growing that, and they know that they've got the livelihood as well. They've got the support. It's an employee-owned business, and they have the backup if something did go wrong. Whereas a lot of farmers are one bad crop away from not being able to farm anymore. It really is that stark.
It's a terrifying prospect, and it's something that I would love to be able to afford your food. Is just like, even supermarket prices are so much higher than it used to be. So while I buy farm where I can, it's not sustainable for me financially to do that all the time. And I'm sure that is the case for most people. So what really needs to happen, not to push everything back to the government, but the government needs to step in and do things about it, whether that is raising minimum wage and living wage to cope with the price of what things actually cost, like the cost of actual food from a local source. And if we got our food locally, like on the sustainable eco side of things, you're not having all that transport cost. Now, I'm saying that as someone who works in logistics and my whole job revolves around trucks moving. That's where my living comes from. But there would be and should be ways to make transport more sustainable and more environmentally friendly. We don't really use rail freight in this country. Rail freight would make a massive difference in terms of movement of goods, because if you had rail freight terminals that were major, like they have in Germany and other parts of Europe, so you would take things from the port by rail to the major city, and then they can be distributed from there by truck. It's a much more sustainable way of doing it.
I would argue that's also most likely better for, say, in this scenario, if you're transporting meat or vegetables or just general perishable goods. It's a lot better for that to be going at a constant speed in a well-conditioned environment, rather than, like, for example, if they get stuck at borders, or if they get stuck in traffic jams, or if there's diversion, they can change how long it takes to get from one place to another, and that lowers the shelf life. And so that causes more food waste. We already have a huge food waste issue in this country, which I don't have the stats for right now, but it's very significant. And a lot of that is before it even gets to our shelves. And so, there have been campaigns in years gone by. I think last year, a couple of years ago, there was a huge push to have more wonky veg to make that more normalized, because supermarkets had been pushing this idea that vegetables had to look a certain way, regardless of how well they tasted. And they started actually being more okay, outwardly at least, with wonky veg, or normal veg, essentially. Because there was a huge campaign by farmers to say, well, actually, we're wasting so much of what we're producing, and we're not getting anything back for that, and that's not fair. So there can be change. There can be change.
There are things as simple as being able to buy fruits and veg individually. Now, that might sound like a ridiculous notion to some people, but I needed 1 orange for this recipe. I don't really like oranges. I had to buy 5 because my supermarket didn't have a singular orange.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with these other ones? But if I could have just bought 1 orange, that would have been far better for me.
Absolutely.
Same with peppers and spring onions and tomatoes. Sometimes I need 3 tomatoes, not 6. And if I could buy them individually, then I wouldn't be buying them covered in plastic packaging, like this plastic netting. That's another eco thing that wouldn't be a huge swap. It would also be, I'd argue, cheaper, because you don't have to pay for the packaging.
Yeah.
The supermarket doesn't have to pay for the packaging.
This is actually something, again, Riverford's done quite well, is they've been working tirelessly for the last couple of years to make their broccoli as packaging free as possible. So you can literally go for a zero packaging option. And if something does come in upon it, it'll be a cardboard one. You can then reuse for like plant feeders in, or you can just compost it because they have a compostable biodegradable material. They have made sure that they can, if they have to package something, it comes in a biodegradable compostable bag. It works to make that out of potato starch. Like, if a company like Riverford can make that happen, then a huge conglomerate like Sainsbury's or Tesco can use the same technology and make that happen. Because it's not made a huge difference to the cost of the vegetables. Yes, things have gone up in price because inflation, but that's not bring afford they change from plastic to non-plastic packaging. And even if it has, there was in the news like this discussion about this. People were able to give their feedback and were welcome to give their feedback to Riverford. And like the vast majority of people who responded to that were very happy to like the change from non-compostable to compostable packaging. That was a huge thing. It was a massive celebration. And I know that other vegetable suppliers like Abel and Cole, for example, I know they do very similar things. I use Riverford as an example as it's the one that I'm the most familiar with. And I think it's very useful, especially as someone who makes solo a lot of the time. Sometimes it's just a little bit too much to go out to supermarkets, and so having a delivery and having an organic delivery as well, it's great. It's all peace of mind for me. I know that other people in my neighborhood also use Riverford, so I know that they're just doing it in one specific run. Like my delivery day is a Wednesday because that's when the vans in my area. It's great. It's much more sustainable. And just generally, like if you can, it's a fantastic spot. I can link below like ways to access State Riversburg, Abeling Cole, or other options for this. I know in the US there are definitely things like this as well, although I don't know the names of them. But yeah, like they've made that progress because there's some positive feedback from their buyer base. And so if a small restaurant company can do that, a giant supermarket can also do that. That's my point.
Exactly. And, there are things that we can't change on an individual basis straight away, but there are things that we can change. One of the things that I do is that I use Smol, and I've used Smol for 3-4 years now, and they send me all of my washing tablets in a cardboard box. It gets delivered on a schedule that you choose, which is great, and it's not covered in plastic. That's a massive difference. I will pull up my stats because they calculate how much CO2 you've saved and water and everything like that. They calculate that all for you. So I'll get that printed out and I'll add that to this video so you can see what difference I've made as one person. There's now 2 of us in our house, but previously it was just me. I use that for my surface disinfectant and bathroom cleaner because if you think about buying a bottle of cleaning liquid, it's mostly water. So you're buying a big plastic bottle that's mostly water with a small amount of active ingredient in it. And instead, you can buy little tablets. Let's see if I've got some in the cupboard. If not, I think I'm due for a delivery. Yeah. So it comes in this lovely little cardboard box. It fits through the post box, so you don't even have to be in to accept your delivery. It's in a child safety packaging, which is quite hard to get into. Mm-hmm. And then each tablet comes in this little bag here, which is biodegradable. I think it even breaks down water, to be honest.
That's so good.
I will double check that, actually. No, compostable. Home compost wrapper, placing your compost or rubbish. And it's 100% plastic free. And it's a little tablet, a teeny tiny little tablet. You just put it in some water and it makes your surface disinfectant. And it makes a whole bottle of them, and there's 3 of them in this packet that's this size. It was probably delivered with 6 or 7 in this much packaging. Whereas you think of 6 or 7 bottles of cleaning liquid.
Oh, that's going to take up yeah, exactly.
Like volume. it's a massive difference. I mean, these have been refilled with this.
That's
So
fantastic.
it isn't what it says on the outside, but it doesn't matter because it still works.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to go in the bin. You can refill it. So I recommend small as an eco swap. And there's loads of others, and we'll go into a couple more, but there's one that I have tried and recommend massively.
This is Hannah referring.
And it's easier. You choose how often it gets delivered, and then it just gets delivered. And they're not like a subscription service where they just like don't mind taking your money. They email you 3 or 4 days before they dispatch and check if you still want it. And you can go straight online and go, oh, I don't need another one yet, and delay it.
That's brilliant.
It's honestly fabulous. I mean, the inside of this bottle, the inside of this packaging says spray bottles use 7,800 tons of new plastic yearly in the UK. You're helping to bring this down. Small things make a big difference.
That is wonderful. So yeah, like Hannah says, we will have all of these links in our description box below, and so you'll be able to see what we actually do use. And again, these are things that we've been using for a while. We do both wholeheartedly endorse these sponsors. So yeah, I mean, you know, if you have any eco swaps that you have been trying out yourself, or any ideas that you'd like us to try out, then we would love to hear that. Because honestly, both of us are just sort of trying to find little ways to make our lives and also just our world a better place. You know, one still side for the throne.
Exactly. I'm always happy to try anything that's a more environmentally friendly way of doing things, as much as I possibly can. I mean, obviously there's things that you can't change or are difficult to change financially, and I am not a perfect person. Like, we have bathroom wipes to clean the bathroom, but every other surface that gets cleaned in this house gets cleaned with a reusable rag or a microfiber, and we have loads of them. And I wash them in the washing machine. I don't use cotton face pads for my face anymore. I have reusable ones, and I wash them. So there are just loads of examples nowadays where I do things slightly differently than I would have done previously. And some things are almost easier, if not easier. Like I steam mop my floor rather than using like a normal mop, because my steam mop is better. Personally, I think so, at least. It cleans with just steam. You don't need any disinfectant or any liquid to go in with it. So that's one less thing you're having to buy. One less lot of plastic as well. And the mop head comes off and washes in the washing machine. So I've bought it once. I will use it for many, many years until it dies and no longer works. And it cleans most of my house, including the inside of my oven. So I'm also reducing the amount of chemicals I'm using, which is bad for the environment all around as well. So there's things that you can do that don't feel like a massive difference, that can really add up. I mean, in the time that I've had my steam mop, I've had a steam mop now for 3 years. One of them died about 1.5 years in, but I got that secondhand. So, you know, it already lived a life before it came to me. And now I've got one that I did buy new because I couldn't find one secondhand at the time. But I will use it until it doesn't work anymore. I love it.
Honestly, I think that's the most sustainable thing of all, is you don't have to go out and buy all these brand new things. Use what you have first. You don't have to like discard all of the chemicals, because the most sustainable thing you can have is the one you already own.
Exactly. I could not agree more. And buying things secondhand, not only is it more cost effective for you, but things like Facebook Marketplace will save you a fortune. And also, you're using something that someone has already loved. I have an electric airer, which helps dry my clothes a lot faster. And I have two. One was a hand-me-down from my mother, and the other one I bought secondhand. And not only was it like £15 instead of 50, it had already been used and already been loved. So it's getting a much longer lifespan. And that's so much better.
Absolutely. I mean,
like, it's a win for me and a win for the environment. It didn't go into landfill. No. It's still being used.
for me, like
and even when the electric part doesn't work anymore, I will still use it because it's still an error.
Yeah, so it's something to have a longer life. For me, like a lot of the stuff that I have in my flat is secondhand. A lot of it I've ended up inheriting, which has been quite good. And it has meant I haven't had to buy cleaning supplies for about 2 years at this point, because I've just had all the stuff that my nana basically bought it, which is pretty great actually. And so it means that like I can just use up what already existing with flows, and then when it's done, I can make proper decisions for the more environmentally friendly swap. But the best thing to do is use up what I have. Like most of my furniture is secondhand or sometimes used third hand. Most of my appliance, I'd say half of my appliances are secondhand as well. Like my toaster is secondhand, my kettle, my microwave, one of my mixers, my TV is third hand. And like I do my best to work forensically to look after them for as long as possible. Like my laptop is not secondhand, but I've had it for when was 2022? I've had it since then, basically, and I will keep using it until it is no longer physically usable. Like the camera that I've been using is back up to this in 2008. Basically, just use everything up as much as you can in its lifespan, like extend that lifespan, look after your stuff. I think that's really important. And then when you can, make these swaps to make the world a little bit more sustainable and like advocate for them. Yeah, I mean, maybe as an individual you can't save the planet, but you can do a hell of a lot more than you think you can.
Exactly. And these aren't things that I've come to on my own accord. I would love to say that I am a philosopher and I thought of all these things and I've come up with all these ideas, but most of them are not mine, as is the case for most people.
Yeah.
We follow people who inspire us and help us with our eco worries and any other concerns that we have. And a really, really good example of this is Lena Norms. I've been watching her videos for a couple of years now. I don't actually know how I stumbled upon her, but I stumbled upon her, and I am very glad that I did. And she makes a lot of content
about... 1
second,
because my timer's just gone off. We should check our case, and then we'll get back to Lena. Okay, mine's very liquidy right now, so I think mine...
Same. I don't think mine's cooked.
No, mine had a good wobble, which...
Same.
Yeah, that's not what you want with a fake. How long do we put it on for?
Another 10?
Yeah, let's give that a go. Anyway,
Lena Norms, I genuinely stumbled across her. I don't know how. It ended up on my YouTube feed. I've never been happier. And she does a lot of videos on eco things, from reading books. If you like us, you'll probably like her. She's very funny, and she's a woman in her 30s living in the Midlands in the UK, basically trying to do her best to make more sustainable choices. So this year specifically, she's doing a year of make do, and what that entails is she's not buying any new clothes. Now, a lot of her content is about fashion, so she's not buying any clothes from secondhand sources, from charity shops, from like vintage Depop, from first-hand, nothing. She's not buying any new clothes at all. She's going to make everything that she needs, which is incredible and sounds incredibly difficult, and I don't know that I can do that yet.
I don't yet have the skills to do that, but I think it's amazing to take them out.
It's inspiring, and she's working very hard towards that, and she doesn't like shy away from the fact that it's not something that everybody can do. And one of the pointers that she's brought up previously is that you should build yourself a community, in that if I can knit and you can sew, that's a good team. If I can bake and cook and you can't really, but you're really good at gardening, then why don't we swap a cake for some potatoes? Like, why don't we have more of the community mindset in that way? And that sounds lovely. I mean, my hobbies are quite far and wide, and I do a variety. I knit, I sew, I garden, I read. I know cleaning's not a hobby, but sometimes it feels like it is, because I passionately enjoy really getting into like the bits and crannies with the toothbrush and cleaning things. I bake, I cook. I've got like a wide variety of things that I enjoy. But she is right. There are things that I'm not great at. Like, I'm not great with time. That's not a good thing for me. I'm very time blind, and my attention to detail just doesn't exist. So, if you could collaborate with people who fill in these gaps and do things that you're not very good at and can do them better than you, then you can work together as a community to do things in a more environmentally and sustainable way without just doing things you hate and eating things you don't like. You can make changes while still having a overall positive life. And it's quite nice to do things with your hands, not gonna lie. So
absolutely.
Try and do something with your hands, whether it's woodworking or, I don't know, soldering. There's a never-ending list of things you could try.
Exactly. And like when you create that community, you open up your world to so many different experiences that you might not otherwise have. And I think we are conditioned in the society as people who kind of have to just grab things and go. Like, we're conditioned to have everything as an inconvenient convenience. And by slowing down and deliberately make us voices to actually like engage with other people, experience you can learn from or use in skills like, it's an amazing way to broaden your horizon and you feel more and have the experiences. I mean, not to get all this more philosophical, but that's what life is really about, and sharing ideas with different people, especially if your ideas are very different to their ideas. It's an amazing thing that you can do, and it really does enrich your life.
Exactly. There's so many more sustainable ways of doing things that you can do in your community without it being a huge thing. Like going to a supermarket that's closer. Maybe it's not your favourite supermarket, but if you go to the one that's closer, that's in walking distance, or even if you have to drive there, but you're driving less far, you're using less fuel, which is better for you financially, but you're also emitting less CO2 in the process. There are little things that you can do that make a difference. You can walk to the shops if you can. I mean, not everybody can, and there's mobility issues associated with that. As someone who has chronic pain, it's not every day that I can walk myself down into town if I need something. But on the days that I can, I will. And now that we have a dog, I can't always leave him for long enough to do that. I can't always leave him for 4, 5, 6 hours for me to spend the hour walking into the town and then 2 hours walking around the shops and then an hour and a half walking back. I can't always leave him for that time. But when I can, I do.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do things all of the time, but every little thing that it does add up. It makes a difference. And we want you to feel empowered in making slight different changes to make things a little bit better.
Exactly that. Yeah.
I mean, even down to like these oranges that I'm not sure if I'm going to use, and I will find a use for them. You can use oranges and lemons as part of cleaning supplies with bicarbonate of soda.
Yes, it's like got citric acid in one, and that's a fantastic.
Exactly.
Like, it's really good, I think, for antibacterial purposes. I know whenever I clean my microwave, I tend to do that with half a gallon of bicarbonate of soda. And it works just as well as not better than your standard cleaning supplies. And it also makes your kitchen smell nicer.
Exactly.
So,
you can use a lemon or a lime or an orange or whatever you have and some salt, and you literally put the lemon or the lime or the citrus fruit in the salt, and you can use that as an abrasive cleaner.
Yeah. It's sometimes
rather than using things like pink stuff or Sif.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing you can do with it is just make your house smell really nice by making a cinnamon pot. It's something I've been meaning to do at this orphan. You get like your favorite spices, you get some oranges, if you're feeling fancy, you get some apples or whatever, and you get some water, and you just put it on your stove and just let it simmer, and it makes your house smell absolutely amazing. And it just sort of put it up around the I guess. Well, a little bit like,
I love it.
We
do that all year round.
I'm planning to do a similar part with the leftover part of the oil and some spices after we finish recording. and I'm really looking forward to how good my house will be as well.
One of the things that I do is that any vegetables that the dog can eat, because he can't have everything, we make his food. He doesn't have kibble for gastrointestinal reasons that I won't get into, so that everybody doesn't have to hear about my dog's bowel movements. But basically, we have to make his food because it's the only way that he feels well. So he has rice, sweet potato or normal potato, vegetables, and mince. That's what he has to eat, which is pretty good. His food is like human grade food, essentially.
Yeah.
So whatever little bits of vegetables I have left, provided they're dog safe, I'm not about to give my dog garlic. Like, I'm not going to feed him something he can't have. But like a little bit of bell pepper, some carrots, some peas, I'll just put it in his, he'll eat it. And if there's not enough for us to add it into something that we're having, at least it's still being eaten, it's still being used. I also will freeze anything that I can where possible. If I've got tomatoes left and I'm not going to use them all, I will chop them up and put them in a freezer bag, because you can use them in sauces later rather than having a tinned variety. Like, there are things you can do to use things up where you can and make changes. And obviously, not always possible. Everybody throws things out sometimes. And we don't want you to feel bad about that. I'm sure that there are spring onions that are moldy in my fridge as we speak.
It happens. It's okay.
I try to make a difference where I can. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. And that was our aim for using as much of this pumpkin as possible. I mean, currently I have my seeds soaking in some water to get all of the slimy pumpkin guts off of them, and then I will boil them and roast them, and I'll either eat them or give them to the birds.
I'm planning to give mine to the birds, because texturally I'm not super keen on seeds, but I know the birds will love them. Okay.
Have you ever boiled them first, though? Because boiling them makes them crispy and not chewy.
No, they get stuck in my teeth. I don't like the feeling of stuff in my teeth. Right, my timer's as well, so I'm going to give this another try. And then I think maybe we should make some items for this follow piece.
This looks cooked to me now.
I'm not sure about mine. If that still feels frighteningly liquid. Let's see.
I'm just going to stick a stick in it. Oh no, it's still wet in the middle. Never mind. We lied. It's going to take longer than we told you.
This is why you need to be sure about the oven that you're using, because every oven is different. Some of them behave, some of them are temperamental and decide that no, actually, everything is going to take quite as long as you want it to. I'm not salty about this at all, actually. Right.
I can tell.
Yeah, not salty still. Okay, I am going to get started with my icing, but I do need to wash up the dish for... Sorry, this might need to be cut out for a sec, but I need to wash up for thingy said ways the icing quicker. Sorry.
Cool.
Yeah, no, don't worry, I'm not planning to rouse it. You get a pumpkin off first. Or actually, that's
my bowls left.
Sorry, hang on. I just realised the other one is already clean, so I can just use that.
Well, I'm going to have to wash up because all of my bowls are in the fridge.
Oh dear.
With pumpkin in them.
Okay, shall we do a little, we'll cut things out, and we'll just do a little kitchen reset, shall we?
Well, we could cut it out, or we could, speed it up.
I guess, yeah, I don't really want to...
And put it in the video only, as a cleaning up montage.
Just wash after. And that means moving my camera.
We'll see how we feel.
Yeah.
We can get rid of it if we want to, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's just that my back's going to do to the camera.
Yeah, so's mine.
It's not super fun viewing. But anyway, let's have a little...
La 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 la. Quite nice being able to wash up in the middle of the episode, though.
It is, yeah. Otherwise, there's just a whole pile of shit to deal with afterwards.
Well, yeah, it means we won't have to do it in the end, so.
Oh yeah, you know that cat fight that happened last night while we were recording? I think
Yeah.
one of the cats might have scratched off another cat's collar. There's just this random yellow name on one of the steps outside, and I'm fairly certain it's a cat
God.
collar. And I'm like a little concerned. Gee,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That's wild.
that is absolutely.
Cat's like, no, you're not allowed to go home.
Mhm.
No one will know who you are. I shall be vindictive.
Yeah, I'm a cat love friend of ridiculous.
I will make it so you are totally unidentifiable.
Yeah.
Cats do that. Cats really are just little assholes, aren't they?
They really are. I think this is why I love them so much.
A dog person, but my dog definitely acts like a cat.
Yeah.
Basically,
I know
a
for
big
fact
gangly bag of bones.
Like I love particular dogs, especially ones that I know and I love you for like or you love dogs, but I just happen to love cats more.
I mean, that makes total sense. Everybody has a preference.
Yeah.
I'm just definitely a dog person. Ash thought he was like, he didn't know if he was a dog person or a cat person. But then he said to me the other day, he was like, well, I'm clearly a dog person. I was like, well, what gave you that impression? He was like, we have a dog.
One thing that doesn't like signify, like so for example, you know Eleanor and Julia, like they got Molly. Like Eleanor has grown up with Molly, so she was a 5-year dog person. She prefers a significantly more. Right, she's still, yeah, she loves Molly, but also just she prefers dogs. I rarely get that. So you can really tell who's more of a cat person, who's more of a dog person based on how it acts around them. Like Morgan, for example, has like a family cat called Minerva. Minerva's a bit of a bitch to be fair. She's a ditchiest cat I know. But whenever Morgan's around cats, they're like cool about it. But then whenever they're around dogs, they just go into full like absolute love of dogs. So like she came over to James' house, James has 2 dogs. And Morgan was all over them, just absolutely showering them in love. It was very delicate and kind of a funny fellow. So like you can really tell who was a dog person and who was a cat person. A lot of my family are dog people. So I'm a little bit gonna run out of that way. But then my parents aren't either. They don't do dog or cat. Which fair enough. It's like
Well, one day they're going to have to love their little grand cat.
they definitely are. They're gonna have to learn to give it up. I'm gonna have to get a hypoallergenic one though, because otherwise my people will never come around again. Because you've got like it. So I'll have to be careful about that. But like I would happily see a cat parent. I would love that.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be really good.
And also I don't have the outdoor space that I could provide for them. And watching with brothers to watch cats frolicking on the steps and back. I'm not super keen on the idea of cats being able to go out and about like that because I know that it clearly impacts the local bird population. Like cats kill more birds every year than any other predator. And like this, most of these campaigns to get with wind farms stood up because they're partly breeding along with birds. Cats every year kill more birds in any wind farm I have.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I should probably look at the stats for that, but like wind farms are nowhere near as deadly to birds as to the average domestic feline. They're also working on making range farms more bird friendly. Looking really good, right? They're trying to make plastic birds from bats and stuff. Whereas like they're not really that hard in the way of campaigning cats indoors or like them on lead. Like you can walk the cat on a lead. I'm not seeing it very often, but you can't do that.
Oh yeah.
I think it'd be adorable.
I've still got so much pumpkin left, Charlotte. I genuinely
I'd love to be able to say that
so much
someday.
pumpkin. Yeah, Ollie won't be able to meet your cat though.
No, I mean, I might have to, like, whenever I do get a cat, he or she might just have to be like in a cage and put away. Okay, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure out. Maybe I find a cat who's actually completely go. You never know. Like, bring like a retired barn cat, for example. It might be okay.
True.
But it depends on all the attitudes of the cat as well. Like, you gotta make sure that they're comfortable. This lovely conversation about cat. I don't know. What kind of name about that? Well, you'll listen to that. You good?
Yeah, I didn't realise you needed orange zest for the icing as well.
Wait, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I put all of it in a thing.
So did I, but you need another orange worth of zest.
I guess at least lets you have another one of your oranges.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is better.
Okay. So I'm nearly done with the washing up.
It needs half of the zest of one orange and the juice of half. Feels like I just did this. If I had known that, I would have zested two. And not washed my zester up.
Did you take out the oven yet?
No.
No, me neither. I've just had my next 10-minute timer, so we're gonna give it another time and see what happens.
It's bringing back.
Wait, keep going. I know
It's bringing back, so I'm gonna go with the eggs.
Alright.
So how long was that altogether?
That was 50, I think. Which, no what is that on the tin?
No. Really was not what it said on the tin.
No. Alright, but it's warm. Did I fail? Here it. Very useful. Okay, I think that is my cake done. So,
Please hold while I make the dog an activity. What can we do for an activity, Ollie? What should we do? Actually, this is very fitting.
mm-hmm.
So this is some pumpkin yogurt. I've literally blended up pumpkin rind.
Nice.
He's sitting very patiently like a good boy. And put yogurt in it. It's really good for dogs' tummies. And I've just frozen it. I'm just going to tilt the camera down so you can witness this. Sit. High five. Oh, hi, baby. There you go. Is that yummy? And you can all witness my dog.
He is so good.
If I put it down, he'll pick it up and run off. Or not. And now you can't see him.
Alright. I see you there. The nut egg.
You can have some dog cam while I do this.
Yeah. Are you making the cream cheese saucing?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna extend it.
But with orange in it.
Well, what I'm going to do is make this into sort of an orange drizzle. Like drizzle the orange juice onto the cake. And then like drizzle the icing on top once it's cool. So while the cake is cooling, I'm gonna just stab it, basically. I love stabbing it.
Well, while you do that, I'm going to just make orange icing. This smells amazing, though.
I bet it does. I love the smell of freshly left wine. Right, now that I've spat that all over.
Right. And I'm going to start recording me making the icing as well.
I need to do it on.
Love all the shop talk I'm adding into this. I'm going to start recording me doing this. So, 200 grams of cream cheese.
Cake review.
In there.
No good.
I'll leave the container because the dog will lick it.
Right, I'm going to keep that on the bracelet while I drizzle all I do.
Add in my orange zest, which I've realised you can't really see what I'm doing because I've left the box of icing sugar right in the way.
I am going to make North Simple icing. So I've got 125 grams of icing sugar. I will be sifting this because that's kind of lumpy. I've got Hannah's vanilla extract, the recipe on one of our previous episodes. If you want to make that, it's well amazing. It's well good.
To make it in time for Christmas, you need to do it now.
What Hannah said.
It takes time to ferment. I don't even know if that's the right word, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay. I guess ferment, infuse, one of both.
Infuse might be better.
They're really things.
But it is fermenting because you're putting in alcohol.
Yeah, I think
that took me a long time to come around.
It isn't fermenting like making alcohol. The alcohol is already made. But I think it's confusion. Anyway, this is that semantics. I need a little bit.
That didn't work.
So we will have the options for icing on the recipe.
Yep, I'm about to use a whisk.
It's slightly. Actually, while we're doing this, might be a really good time to like if it adds. We're both get with the box. I don't know. We can just Here's the 3 cans doing the bowl. Oh, he's got half cans in here, so I'm just going to add a bottle of fun. Not my favorite thing.
I am back, peoples, after coating myself in icing sugar.
There's no other way to do it.
By putting it on way too high. There you go.
Right. I get the feeling I might need to make this a little bit thicker. So we'll go with that for now.
I always find however much icing sugar it says to include is never enough. Also, look at my counters.
No! Sorry. I spilled some of your vanilla extract. So I'm really sad now.
You spilled some?
Yeah. I spilled like half of it.
Oh well. I mean, I can't see the future or anything, but I can see more in your future. So I wouldn't be too upset about it.
I mean, I will admit, it does smell good. Like, of all the things I could have spilled, that's possibly the nicest smelling, so.
Oh, it will sanitize the surface for you.
I suppose? Yeah? Aware of the wet?
Right, I'm gonna tip one of these out of the tin for now. Haha! It came out in one go!
Hey! Very nice.
I mean, that's the wrong way up now.
I think I'm going to just add a couple more spoonfuls of alcohol, but can I be bothered?
I'm going to do each cake slightly differently. So I'm going to glaze one, which is essentially you put the icing on one that's still hot so it melts and glazes onto the top of it. And the other cake, I'm going to wait for it to cool properly and ice it. So they will both be slightly different. Mostly because I want to eat some of this while it's warm. Because it smells incredible. Just going to put a big old glob on top. And this is definitely melting, as I said. And it'll kind of absorb in slightly as well, the cake.
I think I'm a little bit happier with the consistency of that. I'm going to add one more spoon. Good job.
I'm going to grab the other board and just take this one out onto. That's hotter because it's glass, so it holds its heat better.
I just realised I forgot to turn that up now. So it's best to remember to do that. In my defense, I didn't know whether the cake was going to be cooked. I thought I may as well taste it on for a bit longer. Tastes good.
Right. That's come off, but with a big chunk of the cake coming out with it.
I mean, you've got to have a
Which means I'd actually try it.
All right, that is my icing. I don't know whether you saw that or just the bowl, but I didn't want to throw it out. You'll see it anyways. I'm going to add it to my cake now.
So that cool.
If you see lumps in my icing, I don't.
I'm just going to put a couple of my little decorations that I bought.
You have decorations? Oh, I didn't mean your map.
I bought little Halloween ones.
Oh. I've already got Christmas
Really
ones,
sweet.
and it is far too early to be having that conversation.
You keep mentioning the C word, and every time I'm not happy about it.
I used to be an orchestra kid, okay? It's hardwired in my brain.
True.
This is the time of year where you would have a carol float in front of you on your music, like your stand, and you'd be like, right, well, it's far too early for this, but I guess we're doing carols now. It's the, yeah.
No, thank you.
This ain't pretty,
I don't want to have to
but
think
it smells
about
good.
It smells incredible.
Next
I am
time,
so excited.
Hannah, next time I say, oh, can I be bothered to sift the icing? Yes, I can. I can always be bothered to sift the icing because I frequently bothered to sift the icing. And I'd rather icing for them.
I'm just trying to get into my decorations so I can decorate. And then I can have a slice. Which is the most exciting part. Bats. And pumpkins.
Alright.
Oh no! I've just dropped them on the floor.
Careful.
But there we are. I am so excited to try this.
Me too.
This is my pumpkin cake with the bats and ghosts.
Very cute.
And pumpkins on it.
And the giraffe from Farmland was with chopping roll.
And I'm just going to grab a knife so I can give this a go. You ready?
I'm ready.
I've cut mine already.
Okay, fine. Hang on.
I'm just ready to try it.
I think mine's gone very gooey because of the delays. But I'm quite intrigued to see what the texture of this is going to be like. Yeah, okay, this was very gooey. I added too much icing. Ah! Oh no! Okay, I've got an avalanche. This is the problem.
Out of the list of problems to have, that one sounds pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, but look. It's oozing. I added too much glaze. Oh well, I'll just have to like pick that up, I guess. Yeah, this isn't coming into the
This
office
is delicious.
tomorrow. Oh, but it tastes oh my god. You know what?
I'm so happy.
It's so messy, but I'm in love with this cake. I mean, I have to remake this to see if I can get the proportions right, the icing. And, you know, that's photography. It's literally just oozing, but it tastes phenomenal. Oh my lord. Yeah, then I'm gonna make this as birthday cake.
It's a good idea.
You found one up.
This is so good.
Wow. I need to
This was good last year.
this, so I need to use your envelope that's gonna go into my worktop this any minute. But oh my god.
So good.
The stuff that's not oversaturated with icing and glaze has an amazing texture to it. It's got a similar texture to carrot cake, but it's got a lovely natural sweetness on the pumpkin. It's like fully flat. But my god, it's good.
I am in love with this cake.
Really?
Last year it didn't have orange in it. Whatever recipe I used, I could not tell you. And the orange makes an actual really big difference, especially in the icing.
You're very glad that
But it turns out putting the wet and dry in opposite orders does not make a blind bit of difference.
No. But then also turn out that you really have to be able to trust your oven.
Anyway, we have been Flower Power. You can find us on our Instagram at flower-power-podcast or our website www.flower-power-podcast.com, where you can find episode transcript, recipes, and bonus content. Our episodes are released in batches via Spotify, YouTube, Samsung, and on the Flower Power website. Thank you for listening and happy baking.
Happy